Hello everyone, this is Drakor. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am doing a review of the Marvel Legends X-Men Age of Apocalypse Wave 2 Iceman. So here he is in the package. There's his name and the logo for the Age of Apocalypse version of the X-Men. There he is with his accessories. His accessories he comes with is two claw-like hands, so when he to interchange with the closed and open hand that he has on him when he uses his ice powers to kind of turn them into claws to be much more deadly than our version of Iceman. He also comes with the Colossus Build-A-Figure pieces, which is his left arm and an additional left hand in a fist. On the side, you can see the really cool artwork, that same scouring Apocalypse. And down there you can see the really cool Iceman artwork. Here he's much more savage, much more, gritty, dark, as with most things in the Age of Apocalypse. And on the other side, same picture. And on the back, a bigger picture of that version of Iceman. I picked this guy up at TC's Rockets, my favorite comic shop here in San Diego, California. They are at 5155 Waring Road in San Diego, California, 92116. And you can also visit the website for them at https://www.tcsrockets.com. And I will leave a link in the description with that info too. Okay, so let's read his description. Iceman joins the X-Men to stop Apocalypse and prevent the catastrophic culling of humankind in a harsh dystopian future. So yes, Apocalypse in this reality, much like he is in the regular reality, is all about survival of the fittest, and by that he means mutants, and he's got an upper hand, and he also only wants the strongest mutants. As I said, this is part of the Colossus Build-A-Figure wave. This is wave 2 from the Age of Apocalypse line. Within that wave, we have Magneto and Rogue, who we've already reviewed. Cyclops, who will probably be our next review. Sabretooth, who we've already reviewed. Kitty Pryde, which will probably be the last review before we do the Build-A-Figure. Actually, she definitely will be. Iceman, who we're reviewing now, and Legion, the guy who started it all, and we reviewed him 2-3 weeks ago, something like that. Anyways, so there it is, and just give me a minute, I'll get him out of the package, and we can see how cool he is. Okay, and here's Age of Apocalypse Iceman out of the packaging. This is definitely one of my favorite Iceman designs. And I'm a huge fan of the Age of Apocalypse anyways. And this is a really cool figure. It does look like they reused quite a few parts for this, however. The actual main figure body seems to be a slight reuse, actually quite heavy remold. Well, not heavy, but decent remold of the Human Torch figure they released a few years back that they used for the Walgreens exclusive Human Torch, who was also a translucent figure. It was translucent orange and red. And the reason I say that is because these hands look almost identical, except they've been very spiked up. And here, let me put him down so you can see this better. They've been the spikes, instead of being flames, it's been sharpened into spikes, and the hand has been squared up quite a bit. Now, I did take off the hands that normally come on him and put the claw hands on instead, because in the actual comic book, most of the time you didn't see him very much in a humanoid looking form, and typically he was using his claws quite regularly, quite often, and quite regularly. So I just went ahead and took these off because they're kind of, they're cool, and it's nice to have those options, but I feel like the clawed hands are more his speed. So that was the fist hand. This is the open hand. As you can see, they both have these ice spikes on them. And you may be asking yourself, why Does Iceman look like this in the Age of Apocalypse? Well, he kind of looked like this for a bit in the main timeline. In fact, in current continuity, he kind of is a little bit like this too, because Emma Frost, the White Queen, when she was leading Generation X, and she was still kind of on the evil side. I mean, some could argue she still kind of is a little bit. Basically, utilized her powers to make his powers unlock completely. And it made him far more deadly, but much harder to control. And it was a form very similar to this that he ended up obtaining from that. Once she relinquished control back to him, he went back to his normal self. He didn't really know how to get back to this particular form. He kind of wanted to, but he also kind of resented it. So, just a little history on that. Now, what I like about this guy is, yes, he is made mainly of a translucent blue, clearish, translucent plastic. Technical terms there. But yes, and then it's just frosted with this white paint highlights to give it that more ice look and feel. And I think that's really, really a cool visual for this particular character. Now, because he is made mainly of one type of plastic with very little to no painting, I mean, there is painting, but it's so minimal. That usually means they'd be easier to move, but I do feel that the joints on this guy is actually quite tight for being pretty much made out of the exact same type of plastic. So that's kind of interesting, because usually if it's a single type of plastic that really doesn't have much paint on it, the joints move perfectly fine. Not that these don't move good, they do, but you have to work at some of them, like the elbows. So speaking of articulation, let's get down to that. And the other thing, again, the other Colossus arm moves the exact same way as the first one we reviewed. We'll see more of that when we do the Colossus Build-A-Figure review at the end of this series. So his head is on a ball joint with a hinge. So his head can move down that much, quite far actually. It can move back that far, which is still pretty far considering, but the spikes on his back do hinder that. Then you can set it back to the normal neutral pose. You can do a full 360, you just got to make sure you lift up that chin when you do it. He has actually quite the chin on him because of, again, the boost in powers. His arms can rotate around a full 360. He does indeed get a not quite a full T-pose, simply because he's got these spikes on his upper arm, but it's close enough. It's almost a full T-pose. And with his claws, his arms are quite long, which is kind of interesting and cool. Then he does have the swivel at the bicep. Full 360 swivel at the bicep. Double jointed elbows. Over 90 degrees, but this first elbow here, joint, doesn't quite bend as far back as you typically would see them. Normally you would actually be able to get a much tighter, like almost folded in on itself type of articulation there on most figures, but not him. But it does what it needs for this guy. So double jointed elbow there. He has a full swivel at the wrist, and the other hands do the same thing. He can tilt his hand up that much, tilt his hand down that much, which actually isn't that much. I do think the smaller regular hands, like this guy, can actually tilt even further. Yeah, can tilt quite a bit further. So the claws do kind of get in the way, but again, they're more accurate and they look cooler to me. Then we'll just move this arm out of the way. His torso, he has an ab crunch that moves him forward that far, back that far, and then he has a full waist twist 360. Legs, he can't do the full splits. can kind of do a semi-full splits, and you kind of, and then he can get his leg out that far forward, and then back. You can kind of rotate it out and get it that far back, but then you're like popping it out to the side, kind of weird. Um, he does have upper thigh rotation, full 360. He has double jointed knees. Again, a little stiff, but these actually do the full, actual, both joints fully bend. So that really works great. Much better than the elbow. Um, then you have his ankle, which will allow his foot to go out that far, back that far, forward that far, and then he has an ankle pivot on both sides. Now, the same articulation is on both sides as per usual. This is honestly standard Marvel Legends articulation nowadays, which is great. And it works really good on him. Again, I said some of the joints were stiffer than I expected, but overall, uh, it did kind of remain true that his articulation is actually quite a bit easier to move because of the lack of any type of extra paint. Like there's where there is extra paint, it's not on the joint, so it doesn't really affect him. Now visually, he is, like I said, just a nice ice blue with a white highlight with these nice molded in spiked details and the sharp claws, the white frosted chest, and then he also comes with this nice little spike detail on his back, which is actually plugged into the same place that, well, apparently it's glued in, but it's plugged into the same place that Johnny Storm, the Human Torch's fire effect was plugged in. That's also another reason I think this is the same mold. This does not seem to want to remove, and I'm not going to risk breaking my figure to do that. And then you have his less humanoid looking face with the eyes picked out in white, no mouth to speak of, and a really sharp chin, ears, and a sharp hairstyle. Because when he gained this level of power in the Age of Apocalypse, he kind of lost his humanity. Now, from the legs down, that's also the clear blue with the white frosted bits on the legs with the spikes sticking up. And then if you look at his feet, it's actually the feet from the regular Iceman that they did, who also possibly used the exact same body mold as the Human Torch. Again, more squared off, but it's definitely the same type of like humanoid foot from his previous figure, because I guess Iceman sometimes runs around barefoot. Although in the comics, you rarely saw below his waist, and if you did, he did this thing where this whole part of him was just ice. Like just a, you know how you would ride the ice slides in the main comic? Well, instead of that, he just turned his whole body into an ice slide because he could completely melt down and refreeze into any shape he wanted. So he rarely ever had legs in the actual comic book of Age of Apocalypse. Again, more of him like kind of losing his humanity. But overall, for a really simple figure, it is really well done. Again, one of my favorite characters, and honestly, one of my favorite figures. And minus some slight hindrance in the articulation, there's not too much I can complain about. So to me, this guy, if I'm rating on a scale of 1 to 10, he is a 9 out of 10, which is quite high. I think I've only rated one other figure a 9, maybe 2, but this guy's, I know Blink, I think I rated as a 9. But this guy's right up there with her. Like, I thoroughly enjoy him as a character in all his iterations. He is one of my top 5 favorite X-Men, and this is definitely one of my favorite iterations of him. And I think it's been well captured in this figure, and I would suggest if you can find him, pick him up, and purchase him, add him to your collection. Links will be in the description below for TC's Rockets, and I think they have a couple of him, and if not, I mean, definitely keep an eye out from at your local store or other places where you pick up figures, because he's definitely worth it. Anyways, that concludes this review. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get more of my videos, and also share. If you feel like sharing, that'd be great, because that gets me out to more people, and I can, really get these reviews out there to others. And I enjoy, giving people an idea of what they might be in for if they're buying a particular figure. So that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Keep an eye out for the next video, which will be Age of Apocalypse Cyclops. And thank you for watching. Enjoy your day.